Chapter 31 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 31 Chapter 31 Unblooded Shadow Magic. The pill that Bryce consumed grant him a new state of mind. He became stronger than before and was given a chance to start a new life, but that didn't change the fact that he's unable to learn any magic and he couldn't parry away attacks and defend himself from being attacked anytime he faces an opponent with an high martial arts skill and swordsmanship skill. Kevin was someone skilled in an hand-to-hand fight. During his stay with the wizard who he calls his father, he learned how to fight with fists and weapons, and that made him skillful. He was able to throw feints at opponents, and he managed to defeat 4 of the wizard's disciples in martial arts even though they weren't going easy on him. It was true that Kevin could throw feints at opponents, making them think he's about to attack a point, which is a fake, and would punch them somewhere else. But on Bryce's case, he didn't throw any feint at him, and it was a surprise to Kevin that even though the attack that came to Bryce was slow and could be easily avoided, he failed to dodge or defend himself from being hit. It would have been worse than this if he hadn't think of a way to get stronger as he was presently. He went to a black market where artifacts and other lost magical items were sold and had managed to purchase a ring which was said by the seller to be a strong magical item that was used by the past leaders of the 2 magical races. He believed the seller's story, and according to what he heard, the ring really did wonders in him. He was able to learn a magic after all the years he spent being ridiculed and insulted. Just as Bryce started regaining the posture of himself, he could feel the ring reacting to the anger in him. He had immediately gave Kevin a punch of his own. Arg! Kevin groaned in pain as he coughed out nothing. The attack from Bryce was unexpectedly fast and strong that he could feel the bones of his body crack as he was hit in the stomach. Within an instant, his stomach had started aching and he had started feeling pain all over his body. But he was still conscious and could still see the elf that was standing in front of him clearly. He tried to endure the pain as he glanced at the elf that was in front of him. He planned to attack Bryce again. He's not trained to retreat even when at the point of dying. Hopefully, Kevin stood his ground as a soothing energetic feeling started sipping into his body. The wound he had was taking too long to heal and he couldn't understand why. But he was feeling a little better, so he stood well to attack the elf in front of him. That was when Kevin noticed that something was wrong with the opponent he was fighting. Bryce had his hands clenching tight at his stomach, his brows furrowed in pain and his eyes had turned red suddenly. It was obvious that Bryce was in pain after hitting Kevin. It wasn't even where Kevin had punched him that was paining him. Bryce was in a strong pain, even the system had it confirmed. In Bryce's hand was a golden ring similar to the one he saw back at his father's workshop. But he wasn't able to take a good look at the ring before it disappeared and became a system inside his mind. Perhaps this ring was also a system. Will it grant him another system or what? Kevin was curious to know what this ring was. He ignored the elf that was groaning in pain and gently removed the ring from his hands. Just at that moment, Kevin could feel a surge of energy enter his body as he touched the golden ring. Kevin glanced at the ring in his hands and the system had immediately messaged him. Kevin was still thinking of taking care of some matters that kept on lurking him. The system messages. Kevin shook in fear as read the system message that was shown to him. He couldn't explain how he's feeling right now. He felt a shiver ran down his spine and he felt like he needed to do what the system bids him at all cost. His mind was flooded with lots of questions, but unfortunately there was no one who could answer him at the moment. He was kept puzzled at the requests and assignments the system was giving him. Since the time he had took the ring from Bryce, he noticed that he's not feeling any more pain in his body, and same could be said for Bryce, although he's left to being the weak guy he has been for the most part of his life. Sorry, I'll be suspending the mass release till later. I'll be extra busy this ending, but I'll make sure to mass release in one of these days. Chapter 32 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 32 Chapter 32 2 hours, give me back the ring, I bought it at a very high price, Bryce said, stretching his hands at Kevin from where he was laying on the ground. Where did you buy this ring? Kevin asked, staring at the T mark that was inscribed on the ring. Why? Are you also going to collect it from me like that Peter boy tried to? I bet you would be paralyzed if you try it on your hands. Let me save you from the pain, give the ring back, it's meant only for me. Are you saying the truth? Yeah, the Peter boy is in room 202, you can go and ask him. He stole the ring and tried to put it on. Hell, he stood still like a frozen statue, he wasn't able to move until I removed the ring from his hands. Maybe you might burn up with a fire if you try it on, ahaha. I'll soon find out, Kevin replied as he took the creditor that was beside Bryce and transferred all the amounts into his access card. Transfer of 200 credits successful, the creditor announced, and Kevin instantly smiled to himself. Hey, you took all my credits for this month, how do you expect me to survive? Who the hell do you think you are? Bryce shouted as he tried to lift himself from the ground, but he was so weak to do so. What the hell is wrong with me? It's been a long time since I felt this way. Is it because I don't have the ring anymore? He complained as he attempted to lift himself off the ground but couldn't. Take care, I'll be leaving now. Don't you dare try to fight me next time, I might kill you. Kevin threatened and then flashed a smile back at him. Don't worry, your friends will come and carry you, if you can't stand up. Kevin immediately started walking back to where Bryce's friend was. Lexa had also made her way back so Kevin won't suspect her spying on him. But she saw him look in her direction before finally walking out of the bush. Did he see me? Lexa panicked as she immediately rushed out of her hiding. Hey! Who do you think you are? Bryce kept on cursing at Kevin. Kevin approached Bryce's friends and he flashed a smile at all two of them. But he saw that they weren't smiling and had this fierce look on them. Where is Bryce? They asked. He's still in the bush. He said he wanted to be alone and you guys should come 2 hours later. 2 hours? They all exclaimed. Yeah, I guess he felt so sad after realizing all the bad things he did in the past. You guys should give him some time. He needs to clear off his mind. Kevin said and then left. The students thought Kevin was saying the truth, so they decided to wait for him for the next 2 hours, which will be 8:15 at night. Kevin smiled to himself as he walked towards the garden. But then he recalled that he left Lexa standing without telling her anything. He looked up front but couldn't see her. He then decided to check the garden, perhaps she might be reading the comic book she got from the library while waiting for him. But unfortunately, he didn't see her there either. Since she's not here, I guess she must have left for the dorm room. It's getting late anyway. I should go have dinner. Kevin said as he walked towards the little line of the queue that was forming in front of the canteen. Shit, I can't believe my dress got torn by this stupid big.4.nothing tree. Why did I climb the tree just to see Kevin beat up that bully when I thought he was gay? I'm such an idiot. Lexa slapped herself a few times as she walked slowly toward the garden. As she got to the garden, she looked around but couldn't see any trace of Kevin anywhere. Now he's gone. I'm such a loser. Lexa almost burst into tears. Perhaps he found out that I spied on him and had left for the dorm room with anger. Did he get angry because I saw him fight? He must be upset seeing that I saw him displaying his martial skills. Hey! What's wrong with me? I bet he didn't even see me spy on me. Why am I jumping to conclusions? Why does my heart skip a beat every time I see him? No, I'll just go to the room silently. If he happens to challenge me for spying on him, then I'll explain everything to him and apologize. I guess I'll be losing him like I lost the others. Gosh, this is so painful. Lexa said. Finally, she got to her dorm room, but she saw that only Dan was in the room. Xin and Dan's siblings were absent. Hey, where have you been since morning? Dan asked. Don't talk to me, you almost embarrassed me back in the canteen, now you're trying to settle things out. Lexa, I didn't mean to. The word just slipped out of my mouth mistakenly. I have no intention of revealing to everyone who your father was. You told me that you didn't want anyone to know till you finish academy, so I'll keep that in mind, it's a promise. Whatever. I'm more worried about the problem I'm facing right now. Problem? What problem? Who caused you the problem? Have you seen Kevin? Lexa asked. No, I haven't seen him since when the two of you disappeared from the canteen. Where did you go to? Oh my, now Kevin is angry with me. Lexa whimpered. What do you mean, what happened between you guys? Some bullies approached I and Kevin on our way to the school garden, they took our credits. But, what's the name of the bully? Dan inquired. Bryce, I think, Lexa replied, but before she could say any more, Dan had rushed out of the room. What's wrong with you, Dan? Listen to what I have to say, hey. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 33. Chapter 33. I must make her fall for me. Before Lexa entered the room, Dan was practicing his speech as he had plans of asking Lexa out after tendering a pleading speech for what he did in the morning. He had intentionally told his siblings to leave as he had plans of proposing to Lexa tonight. In his hand was a written note containing different speech he could use that would make her accept his proposal. Lexa, I'm really sorry for what I did in the morning. Honestly, I'm a stupid dude. I deserve to be killed, but after you were gone, I realized that I wanted to protect you at all cost. While I was seated on the chair thinking of meeting up with you, I had suddenly saw a vision of you and me. I saw you standing in front of me and then started scolding me affectionately. That was when I realized that I'm in love with you. So for this reason, will you be my girlfriend, Lexa? No, I sound like a chipmunk. Let's go again, Lexa, I want us to become couples. Now I sound like a chicken, Lexa. Suddenly the door had opened and Lexa had came inside. He immediately hid the paper inside his pocket and then went to approach Lexa. Hey, what's up? Dan asked as he intended to hug Lexa, but she immediately pushed him away. Heck, I'm tired. Is Kevin here? She asked as she closed the door behind and looked around the room. What's wrong? I thought you guys were together. He asked, a bit heartbroken that Lexa didn't even ask about him but Kevin. We were together but something happened and we had to go on separate ways. Although, it's not separate ways like that, it was just an accident. Lexa said, still worried that Kevin might have really saw her back in the bush. Oh my God, Kevin must have been so angry with me. Lexa lamented. What happened between you two? Dan asked upon hearing Lexa talked on how Kevin was angry with her. I think he saw me spying on him in the bush with the bully. Bully? Was Kevin bullied? Never mind, it's nothing you should be concerned about. Lexa replied as she sat on the only chair that was in their room. Why is she being hostile? Did Kevin offended her or what? I'm going to beat that guy up if he happens to be the one who made her angry. I need to propose to her but she's angry and won't listen to anything I say. Dan thought. Hey, tell me what happened. Did you guys fought or were you guys bullied by someone? Let's go and report them to the teachers, at least you're the daughter of a respectable leader. No, we're not. Lexa objected, pointing a finger at Dan. Then tell me what happened, remember I promise to help you with any problem you have, huh? Dan, don't bother yourself about the bullying. I'm more worried about Kevin. And there's nothing you can do about to help me with it. Tell me what it is so I can know if I could help out or not. See, this is me trying to make up for what I did in the morning. Dan said as he grabbed Lexa's two hands. Okay, if you insist, then I'll tell you what happened. But seriously, you shouldn't worry about the bullies anymore. Kevin has taken care of them. Just tell me, Lexa. Okay. Leave my hands alone, then I'll tell you. Lexa said, and Dan immediately did as she said. Now tell me. Dan said, gleaming a funny stare at Lexa which made her giggle a bit. See, Dan, after I explain this to you. Don't tell Kevin about it, or he might get really angry at me. Promise me. Alright, I promise not to tell him. Now tell me already. Listen, I and Kevin were on our way to the school garden, until we met some 3 guys at the entrance. They took our credits, both mine and Kevin's. But, what's the name of the bullies? Dan interrupted. His eyes had lightened up as he heard Lexa said that the bullies took their credits. What could be more annoying to girls than money? They love money, that's why she's acting hostile to me. I only know the name of one of them. He seems to be their leader. His name is Bryce. Lexa replied, but before she could say any more, Dan had rushed out of the room. Hey, what's wrong with you? I'm not done with what I'm saying, hey. The door of the room closed as soon exited the room. Swiftly like a bird, Dan had rushed over to the entrance of the school garden. If I'm going to make Lexa be my girlfriend, I need to make her proud. She must have fallen for Kevin for saving her in the morning, but now they are fighting. This is the only chance I have to gain her love. Dan was so determined. He got to the hallway that led to the school garden. He saw a few students standing by the entrance, collecting credits from other students. So it is this guy's. Thank God it's not the 6 dragons, I wouldn't be able to do anything if it were them. An evil smirk had formed on his lips, as he started walking towards the students. Hey! What are you guys doing? Stop right now. Dan said as Flame covered his hands up to his elbow. His brows furrowed at the men also got themselves ready to fight the man in front of them. Who is this brat? You need a beating, one of Bryce's men said. I don't think you can see well, you must have a death wish. Don't you see that I have a fire magic? I can burn you down before you could even touch a single hair on my head. Dan bragged about his magic. Who's this talking? Do you think you're the only one with fire magic? One of the men said as his hands flamed up with fire. While the other was able to create wind magic. They started walking towards Dan, and Dan also walked towards them. The one with fire magic had charged at Dan as he sent 2 balls of fire at him. Dan dodged the first one and had grabbed the second ball with his bare hands. What a weak fire you created. Dan said, unknown to him that the boy had gotten close to him. He kicked Dan on the foot, he fell to the ground and the boy finished it all by punching him on the mouth. Whoa! It seems like you have been defeated, bragger. The boy smirked while the other cheered him on. He left Dan laying on the ground as he walked back to the spot where his friend was. Shit, is that what they call a fight? You only punched my mouth, you didn't defeat me in any way. Dan taunted the boy as he lifted himself from the ground. The boy was about to dash at him, but his friend with the wind magic had stopped him. He seems so weak, let me take care of him. The boy said, and the other agreed. He walked towards Dan, who had a smile on his face. All of a sudden, Dan used his magic to create an energy arrow and bow. He then fired an arrow at the boy. But the boy had used his wind magic to sway the arrow away. Dan sent more arrows heading his way, but he simply dodged them all and started advancing towards him. He had gotten close to Dan, and since an arrow can only be fired at long-distance opponents, Dan decided to stop firing. Everyone had thought he would stop using the arrows since it was useless as his opponent was standing right in front of him. But they failed to realize that Dan had 2 opponents, not one. He fired 3 arrows into the air, but the students ignored it, thinking it was useless. Dan changed his energy arrow into a sword and charged at his opponent. You're not the only one who could do that. His opponent said as he also used his energy to create 2 Kitana blades. The 2 clashed at each other as they started swinging weapons at each other. Do you know how many years I spent training in a private school before coming to the academy? I'm able to perform different types of skills that you would just be taught in the academy. Dan's opponent said. And do you know that I was a cleaner in that school and would always practice everything you guys pay money to learn? Dan replied back. There's a secret place in the private training hall that I always peep to look at your teacher demonstrating different types of skills to you. I'm way better than those of you who paid for the lesson. You cheater, I'll report you to the hall master once I get out of the academy. That'll be a year from now. I would have gotten stronger than this, and I would be among those chosen to travel to the human world, you scum. What? Do you think your weak magic will make you win something like that? I'll make sure you lose the competition. Arg. Noel.n. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 34. Chapter 34. Angel Wings. Kevin sighed as he viewed the one thing he had never done ever since he got the system. He never completed his daily before, and now he's thinking of giving it a try. He was done with his dinner and was still seated at the table. None of his friends including Lexa were around. He was wondering why they didn't come for dinner, but he quickly concluded that they might not be ready yet. I should stop thinking about those guys. They are just friends, they won't help me level up. How about I run around for 20 minutes? It will at least add to my EXP points, but I don't really like running around. Kevin didn't have any other choice. He wishes to gain more EXP points, so he must do it by all means. He got out of the canteen and started running from that point, all around the school till the 20 minutes was completed and the system gave him notifications. A cheat video. Does that mean I'll be able to learn things that will be taught to us in class earlier than anyone? A weekly quest, this sounds more fun. I have a daily quest and main quest. I would be able to gain more EXP and level up now that I have weekly quest. I hope the reward will be 350 EXP since it's a week. I need to find out what this trilling thing means, and the only way to find this out is to get stronger and see what I'll become. Kevin smiled to himself while standing in front of their dorm building. He continued with what he was reading and he was surprised by the next message. Unknown. Why is it unknown? Shit, this system is trying to spoil my mood. Kevin said as he played with the trilling ring that was in his hands. He hasn't put it into his fingers yet as he was afraid of seeing the ring disappear like the first one had turned to a system in his mind. But something tugged him to put it into his finger. As Kevin inserted the ring into his finger, he felt nothing. The system didn't notify him of anything. Worried that he might be doing it all wrong, Kevin decided to do it the same way he had done with the first ring. Ring, if you disappear, then you disappear. At least if you would become a system, you would be in my mind. Kevin said as he cut the skin of his index finger with a razor blade. Tiny drops of blood started tinkling on the ground and Kevin inserted the ring into his finger. Immediately the ring touched his blood, the system notified him and the ring disappeared with the blood and wound he had. At that moment, Kevin started feeling something trying to come out of his back. Before he could do anything, his uniform had tore and something feathering was revealed to him. Angel wings. Grasping his kitana blades which were in the form of energy more harder than before, Dan's opponent named Will, dashed at him. The two were still amateur in forming energy weapons. They could only create it as an energy but they can't turn it into real made weapons. You are so weak, do you think you can defeat me? Will said. I guess I'm weak as you said but none of us have won since. Don't you think you're also weak to defeat me, grr? I'm not weak you idiot. Will said as he created a wind blade with his left hand and sent it at Dan. It was something he didn't notice coming. But at the last moment, he was able to see the wind blade. He tried to dodge it but the blade managed to pierce through the skin of his face. Ah. Weak. Will said, laughing. He waved at his friend who instantly waved back to him. Dan was on one knee as he saw his blood trickling on the ground. He smiled as his face was bowed to the ground. Snapping his fingers, 2 energy arrows from the sky started heading for Will's friend. The arrows were fast and sharp, and they went straight for Will's friend named David. Unaware of the arrow coming, 2 arrows had struck him in the stomach. And as soon as the arrows touched his skin, he got wounded and the energy arrows disappeared. Meanwhile, the 3rd arrow headed towards Will at his back. A painful groan could be heard coming from both friends. Blood had started gushing out of their wounded body. Dan walked towards Will, and knelt in front of him. "So, how do you like it? I guess you didn't see that coming." He taunted Will. What the hell do you want?" Will managed to blurt out, but he instantly felt the pain on his back increase as he spoke. "Simple. You should have asked that before now. Who is Bryce among you two?" There was silence as Will decided not to answer him. Creating a short energy spear, Dan placed the mouth of the spear on Will's open wound. Arg! He groaned in pain as Dan used the spear to touch his open wound. "Do you want me to stab your wound with the spear?" "I won't just do that, but I'll burn you from head to toe. Or maybe burning down your uniform and turning you naked will be better." "Well, you're lucky for that, 'cause there's no one here presently, but you won't be able to go back to your dorm room till the curfew starts. You and your friend. HMPHF, HMPHF. Wills laughed as he heard Dan threaten him. "Do you think I'll be scared of your words? Go on, burn my clothes. Turn me naked, I won't budge or feel ashamed. I don't care if it gets to curfew time, but I know you would regret it the next time we meet. Our boss will cut off your head, you brat." "Oh, I see. So your boss is not here. That's why you guys are weak. I guess I'll be having fun tonight. Your boss must be a strong person and I would love to see him appear to save you, once I take you to the dorm building naked," Dan said as he dragged Wills from the ground as he prepared to burn down his uniform till he gets naked. "No, no, please. I'll tell you where he is, I'll tell you where our boss is. He's in the bush, he told us not to come in the next 2 hours, I think we should wait." Wills finally confessed. "Wait. Me. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. You guys dared to collect credits from my crush. I'll kill you guys if I have to. Now, lead the way you two." Dan commanded and the two instantly obeyed. They got to the bush. It was getting dark, but there were light radiating inside the bush, giving them the chance to see everything clearly. They could see a man sitting on the ground with his face bowed downwards. Boss, please save us." The two students ran towards Bryce, who was unable to walk well due to the repercussion of misusing the trilling ring. Ever since he heard about people whose legs failed to move, he never believed it, but now that he's facing the same problem himself, he realized that it wasn't a joke. He has been trying to walk towards the entrance where his men was, but even with all his crawling, he only managed to reach half of where he was going. His body were all bruised from crawling around. "Boss, what happened to you? How did you end up like this?" one of his men asked. "It was some guy called Kevin." As he replied, Dan's face lit up in amazement. He couldn't believe Kevin managed to defeat someone like this. Someone he found difficult to defeat his men. Since he was the boss, he must be stronger than Wills and David. "You mean the guy we stole his credits? What did he did to you?" "He stole my ring, he's a thief. That ring worth thousands of credits. I had to fight a teenage girl to get that ring," Bryce said, not knowing that Dan was beside him. He thought his men had came to report something to him. He didn't even raise his heads to look at them, not to talk of noticing the wound they had. There's nothing he could do it though. He was weak himself and would take a few days before his legs could heal back. He would have to buy another ring from the black market if he manages to see one. The rings were in a total of 50 and everyone had to place a stock price of money to obtain one. Those who weren't able to purchase any had to leave, so he's unsure if he could still purchase any of those rings anymore. Dan felt bad that Kevin had gotten ahead of him again this time. Is that what Lexa wanted to tell back then? I should have waited and hear her explain everything to me. Now I'll seem like a fool to her. Shit, this Kevin is really getting on my nerves. Dan grinned angrily. And it is all because of you fools. Dan shouted as he kicked Bryce away, making him roll downwards into the bush. He left immediately as he headed for the canteen. He was really hungry after using his energy to create weapons. He's still a weak person even if others get to learn how to use their inner energies to create weapons. They would beat him because he has a limited amount of energy, thereby he could only use the energy weapon for a limited time before running out of energy. According to the private school hall master, he said a new beginner should be able to use his energy for 10 minutes. A master was able to use his energy at an infinity range. But him. I'm just a weak elf, stupid and daft, trying to please the only fairy I like. But Kevin is getting ahead of me. He's going to snatch away the only fairy I have in my life. I'm not going to give you that chance. I'm sorry but I'll have to fight you even if you're my friend. Dan was so determined. Please keep on voting, I'll announce when the next mass release will occur. Thanks for reading. We're ranked number 46 on the power ranking. Let's get to the top 10 by the end of this week. Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 35, Bonus Chapter, Chapter 35. Half-naked and angry, Kevin's chest was bare as the shirt of his uniform immediately tore into pieces. The cold breeze of the night blew past his skin, causing him to shiver with cold. He peeped with the side of his eyes to take a look at what popped out of his back. Thankfully he wasn't at the entrance of the dorm building but at the back, and there weren't many students passing by. In fact there were none, which was a stroke of luck to Kevin. He could see it clearly, a pair of wings had emerged from his back. It looks like an angel wings but it is not white colored like that of an angel. Why? If I would get a pair of wings it shouldn't have been golden. It will attract a lot of attention from people if they are to see me like this. Kevin complained. How could you be so dumb to give me this type of wings? I would rather select the type I want than have you select the choice of wings that you like. Now I'm half naked and angry, don't you interfere into my matter again, system. It had similarities to fairy wings, but the only difference is that his was shining golden while all other fairies had different wing colors apart from gold color. His wings were slightly longer and larger than other fairies. Not even a male fairy was able to match up with the strength, beauty and largeness of his newly gotten fairy wings. Ha! Fly! Kevin looked around to see who was speaking, but then he realized that the voice was coming from his mind. Who's that speaking in my mind? You sound a little bit like the system but your voice sounds more humane. Reveal yourself, now. Clears throat. I guess you already caught me. I am Bulb, an A1 system whose duty is to give informations to you the user. In any case of help or need I will be available to guide you, give certain advice and help you get stronger. You can access me by... Hey, wait. What are you talking about? I can't catch up with the speed you're using to talk. Sorry, my bad. I'm an A1 system. A1, or what do you call yourself? You're stressing me with your words. Can you keep shut and let me focus on this pair of wings that I just got? I need to find a way to hide myself from everyone, including my roommates. You also have system by the end of your name, so I'm angry with you too. The A1 didn't say anything as he gave Kevin the chance to do whatever it pleases him. Kevin sighed as he stared at his wings for a few seconds. He then proceeded on flapping his wings together, but he saw that he couldn't flap it at all. He jumped a few times, maybe he would be able to take off into the air, but it was all a failure and he ended up striking his feet against a stone. Shit, I almost injured my feet because of this useless pair of wings. What's the usefulness of it when I can't fly? Kevin lamented. But I can hell. I said don't say anything, I will do it myself. Kevin immediately stopped the A1 from saying a thing. He obviously wanted to see what he could do by himself without having the system interfere into his matter again. The system was what brought him into the mess of being half naked. He's half naked and could still manage to sneak into his room, but this strange wings would make it obvious. He couldn't hide his wings, he didn't know how and didn't want to ask the system or whatever it is called. I have my pride, I won't ask for your help even if my mind settles and I'm no longer angry. I would be fine if I don't have a system. Kevin said as he jumped up again and shook his body to see if his wings would flap, but like always, it didn't work out and he ended up falling to the ground. Get rid of these stupid wings, they are just useless. Kevin sighed as he noticed that the A1 system didn't say anything. Aren't you talking? He asked. User, do not need my help, so I have no reason to say anything. Yeah, stay out of this, I don't need your help, you worthless system. Creaking. Kevin could hear footsteps coming his way. It sounded like a group of students were coming his way. He immediately hid himself in one of the empty trash bins that were near the dorm building. There were holes around the trash bins, so he was able to see the students clearly. He was safe, but unfortunately, he's in a smelly waste bin and he reeks of dirt and waste, but that was the only place he could hide himself till the students finally leaves. And talking about the students, what exactly are they doing at the back of the dorm building? Kevin shut himself up as he eavesdropped on the conversation between the students that came in a group. He wasn't able to see their faces well, but he saw that they were all dressed in hoodies like the elves they saw in the morning in the canteen. Are they not the elves that wanted to fight Lexa in the morning? What are they doing? Urinating at the back of the dorm building despite the warnings that have been given out to everyone. Are they ignoring it because no one was able to challenge them? I swear if I happen to be one of the teachers, I'll make sure these guys are punished. I won't care if they're from an affluent family or not. Kevin grinned as he glanced at the four elves that had started discussing among each other. Wait a minute, why do I even care about them? I'm the one in a serious problem, not them. I need to get inside before the curfew time starts. Boss, I've done a background search on the girl, she's Lena's sister. For each chapters one upload daily, I'll be dropping 1 bonus chapters. If I write 2 chapters, I'll be dropping 2 to 3 bonus chapters. For those who sent summoning pens, I will be dropping 1 bonus chapter every day, and by the end of the week, I'll manage to drop 2 to 3 chaps. I just need you guys to keep on voting with your golden tickets. As for the mass release, I'll make an announcement soon. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 36, bonus chapter, Make Me Stronger, System. For real? The leader asked. Yes boss, she's the sister of the proud fairy who wouldn't marry anyone. I guess those 2 girls have the same attitude. What a bad attitude for fairies to have. Come on, let's go. We'll meet up with her tomorrow. The 4 men in black hoodies said as they made their way into their dorm rooms. It was already 8 p.m. but Kevin was still stuck outside, half naked and with an embarrassing pair of wings. The gentle evening breeze had turned violent as the first wave of snow started falling from the sky. Kevin had started shivering due to the immense amount of cold he was feeling. It was the result of his stubbornness. He is smelly from jumping into a trash can, shirtless, and can't go into his room as he wished due to the strange wings he got from the system. Okay, I give up. Tell me what to do next. Kevin finally said, gnashing his teeth against his other, Are you sure you're ready, master? The A1 system asked to see if Kevin was sure about his decision or he still wants the system to stay quiet. Just tell me what to do next. Kevin grinned as he perceived the barbaric odor coming from him. Then you have to promise that you'll do everything I order you to do as from now on. The A1 said. Do I have any other choice? I'll do as you say since you're the system. Tell me, how do I get rid of this wings? I don't want it anymore. Dear user, you cannot get rid of your trilling wings. I would advise you to learn the basic of flight and more so, your wings will soon be seen by everyone when the time comes for the trilling to manifest himself. You mean, I'll get to show myself to everyone that I'm a trilling? Kevin asked. Yeah, that is the most joyous time of a trilling. That's when you get to reveal your beautiful wings and handsome face to the public. Luckily, you're a male trilling, females will be fighting to have you. Wait. What exactly is a trilling? Why do I have to talk to an unseeable person like you? Can you explain everything to me? Dear user, I'll explain who a trilling is. A Triling is someone the 12 united ancestors of magical beings chose to rule over the united magical beings and non-magical beings of the world. A Triling is a fear to the king and fear to the slaves. The Triling rules over every elves, fairies and humans. His destiny is to fight against the world mortal enemies, the aliens and vampires. Oh. Ah, 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 aha, 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 aha. Kevin laughed after the A1 ended his speech. Are you kidding me? So you mean those are what a Triling will do? Like, that's what I'll be doing since I'm a Triling now. Yes, dear user. Do not be afraid, I'm here to guide you in every of your steps. Can you shut the fuck up for a minute? How do you expect me to believe the trash you just said now? First, I started hearing things in my ears. Second, tabs were shown above my face and quests were given to me to complete. I've been doing all this thinking of getting an answer one day. Thirdly, you appeared out of nowhere and I started talking with an imaginative person who is my mind and hears my thoughts. I got an answer from you, but I learnt that I have to do crazy and stupid things as a Triling trash. Who the hell are you guys? Do you think you can toy with my mind and embarrass me anyhow you want? You made me naked with this useless wings, still I tried not to get angry since I didn't see you and played all along, and now you're telling me to do as you say. Dear user, you need to calm down. Don't you dare tell me to calm down. I know I'm in some kind of dream. I'll soon wake up and find myself in my father's house. Kevin said, referring to the wizard. His eyes were closed as he pinched himself only to open up and see that he's in the same place. Outside in the cold snowing trash bin. Why? What happened to me? Is everything I've been experiencing real? Dear user, do you want to know who your mother is? The A1 system asked. Kevin's face brightened up as he heard the word mother. What do you mean my mother? Do you know who she is? Dear user, as an A1 system I know everything about you. The ring that gave you the system wasn't a coincidence, it was fate that said you will be a Triling. You have no choice but to accept your fate and play along. Everything you have been experiencing is not a dream but fate. You have wanted to see the outside world and you were granted that chance through the system. Do you know why? The wizard you called your father didn't come searching for you even though he has a spell that could track your location. Have you ever thought about the reason? He never told you much about your mother. Have you ever asked why? The pendant on your neck, do you know how powerful and valuable it is? You thought the wizard was your real father. Do you know if it's the truth? I will be answering every of your questions once the time is right for me to say. Kevin had went silent as certain details were revealed to him. This is the first time he would be thinking deeply about his life. He couldn't believe he never asked these questions before. Even when the wizard said his mother died during childbirth, he had believed what he said. But now that he came to the realization of this, thanks to the A1, he wanted to know more about his past life. Why? Why can't you tell me now? He asked, his voice were a bit shaky and cold. It is not in my database to give you such reply for now. You need to level up more to receive each of your answers. I hope you understand me. I feel sorry for you, but there's nothing I can do for you at the moment. I'm just an A1 following a set of instructions. The only way I can help for now is to help you get stronger and fulfill your destiny by leading you to the right path. Kevin sighed deeply before giving a reply, then help me in every way you can, I'll obey and do as you say. Make me stronger, system. Thanks for the power stones and golden tickets, I'm thinking of dropping a mass release by weekend. Impress me with your support. Chapter 37 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 37 Chapter 37. The pendant around your neck. Standing in the midst of the cold night, Kevin looked up to the roof of the dorm building which was about 32-story buildings far from the ground. Your first lesson is to learn how to flap those wings. Close your eyes, breath in and picture your wings flapping against each other, then we're set to go. The system instructed. Kevin did as instructed. He breathed inward, pictured the image of his wings and waited for it to flap against each other, but unfortunately it didn't work. It was a failure. "Come on, these wings are useless," Kevin complained. "Dear user, do not lose hope. You need to believe in yourself to be able to do this. You do not believe in your capabilities, that's why you weren't able to do such an easy thing as this. Oh. Were you a fairy before becoming an A1? Damn, you annoy me. If you think it's easy, come and do it in my place. Kevin. Stop being a lazy ass and do as I ordered you to do," the system said angrily. Kevin jerked away in shock as he heard the system shout so loud into his ears. "What? User, I think you need to be trained in the hard way," the system replied. "Now do as I order you to do. Perfectly, with no mistake. Did you understand? Hey, what's that for? Do you have to shout in my head all the time? I may have an headache at this rate. If that's what will make you learn quickly, then why not? Now flap those wings for me before you get a different type of punishment. From this moment on, I'm your master. I'm no longer giving you the honorifics I've been giving you, do you understand, pupil?" The system shouted again. "Yes. But stop shouting in my head. I'm your master, you idiot, how dare you answer me that way? Now, do you understand me?" "Yes, master," Kevin forcefully said as he grabbed hold of his head. The snow had stopped, but there was still an immense amount of cold everywhere. Thankfully, Kevin was able to keep himself warm after learning from the system that he had an inner energy that could do the trick. That was basically their first lesson after he agreed to obey the system's order. Although the system didn't count the energy as a lesson, Kevin still thought of it as a new discovery. He never knew he had something as useful as the inner energy. He got more excited after hearing that he could use the energy to form weapons of different types. Luckily, he's great in swordsmanship and could use other weapons efficiently, there would be no need learning much of it. His only concern is the utilizing of magic into his body and weapons. He would so strong if he could learn all these skills. That's why he's doing his best to do as the system orders him. But what he noticed was that the inner energy was the same as his mana. He had this question in his mind, thinking of what the mana does apart from healing his wounds and adding to his health points. Now he discovered that it was the inner energy every magical creatures have in their body. Yay! I finally did it. I can feel my wings flapping against each other. They are not useless after all. Kevin exclaimed excitedly. Well done, pupil, you have successfully completed your first lesson. It's time to move on to the next step, which is flying back and forth. A stamina point will be granted for completing your first lesson with me. But, this is the second lesson you'll be teaching me, Kevin argued. Hush. I'm your master, I know what I'm saying. What did you know, pupil? Just at that moment, the system had notified Kevin by displaying a system notification tab above his face. Yeah, that will be enough for you to stay in the air for 10 minutes. Come on, flap your wings together. Very soon, you won't need to close your eyes before you could fly. In fact, it will all stop once you are able to fly perfectly. Are you sure? Kevin asked as he fluttered his eyes open after managing to flap his wings together. It's just a matter of time as long as you believe in yourself. More luckily, you are a Triling and not a fairy. Flying is an easy task for dudes like you. It takes just a day with believe in yourself. It can't be compared to those fairies who spend 2 months learning how to fly. So, I'm so lucky for being a Triling. A race no one knows about. Point of correction, lots of people knows about a Triling, including humans, but the last Triling that ever existed was dead 500 years ago. So most of those that knew him are all old elves and fairies. As for the humans, they only read stories about Trilings. None of the humans that saw the last Triling were still alive. But I would warn you, some humans had formed a group whose belief are against the existence of a Triling creature. They bear a great grudge with magical creatures that a war even occurred between both three races. That's why the elf and fairy races despises seeing an human in their world. There was no one to tell them that what they were doing was wrong. The Trilling is a friend and not an enemy. Ruling over them doesn't mean he will treat humans as slaves. All the past humans who got to see the last Trilling that existed knew how generously and equally he treated all races. But as we all know, magical creatures tends to live longer than humans. The oldest magical creature to ever exist was 500,000 years before he died. He's the owner of the pendant that you have around your neck. Chapter 38. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 38, Bonus Chapter, Chapter 38. He's so hot and sexy. Kevin brought out the pendant that was said to have been given to him by his father. He took a glance at it as he had been doing ever since he was a kid. It was a dragon pendant. The dragon was a tiny, black dragon, but even till now, he didn't know what it signifies. You mean I've been carrying a 500,000-old pendant with me all over my life? Kevin asked. Yes, you are. The pendant is so valuable, it costs a fortune to have something like this. If I'm to make a quick estimation, it'll worth 1,000 diamonds to have it. The system said. Really? Is it that expensive? I could sell it in purchase of weapons and armors. I would even become wealthier than any rich student in this school. You're not thinking of selling the pendant, are you? Kevin. Don't. Thanks for telling me this system, you're the best. Kevin said as he jumped up in excitement. Suddenly, he found himself floating in the air as his trilling wings flapped against each other. What's happening? I'm in the air. Kevin panicked. Wonderful. Kevin, you managed to lift yourself into the air. Congratulations. Now all you have to do is to flap your wings as fast as you could while in the air. Just think of doing it, the wings will soon become a part of you and you'll soon be able to control it voluntarily just like you use your arms and feet. Kevin didn't know why, but he immediately became serious all of a sudden. He obeyed the system's instructions as he had the aim of flying. Perhaps he was motivated after hearing the good news of the pendant from the system. He had a grin on his face as he thought of how rich he would be after selling the pendant. He also grinned upon realizing how lucky he was to be someone of three race. Slowly, he'll become stronger than ever. For once he acknowledged his mother for gifting him this precious pendant, although he felt sad that she was dead. The system couldn't say anything but wait till the time comes for him to reveal the truth to Kevin. He really wanted to help Kevin more than anyone. Finally, Kevin was able to fly higher into the sky. The wings had become a part of his body and he could control it as he wished. He flew in the sky for a few minutes before running out of stamina, and then landed on the top of the roof. The roof of the dorm building was flat, and although there was a door leading down to the exit of the building, not all of the students comes here. This was actually the first time Kevin would be on the roof of the building. He could see the whole city from this point. It was all bright and beautiful. Electricities and buildings everywhere. Fairies could be seen flying all around the city, some were students while the others were teachers. Due to being a human, he didn't know how much fun it is to be a fairy. Even the elves envies the fairies every time they fly in groups. But luckily for the elves, they were able to create a spell that makes them fly in the air as long as they want. Kevin could see that most of them are spell wizards and pure mage students. They have a different uniform and they all had weapons with them. Some with bows on their backs, the others with swords and many other weapons. I'm still an ordinary student, will I be able to reach that rank? Will the wizard I called my father not going to come for me? Is he really my father? Kevin thought. Kevin, don't bother yourself with all those thoughts, you should focus on getting stronger first. Then you'll have the answers to all the questions you have in your mind all this while. Believe me. You know, I kinda like this place. I feel at ease watching the whole city from this roof. I guess I'll start coming here more often. Let's have a final flight and head back inside. Kevin said as he controlled his wings once again. Since he was able to use the wings as he wished, it didn't take long for him to figure out how to hide and reveal his wings at will. Once he calms himself down, he was able to hide his wings. And if he feels the urge to fly, his wings will spread willingly. It was more easier than when he first tried it. Just like the system said, he believed in himself that he could do it, and amazingly, he did it. Shadow magic, shadow skills, the name sounds so special. I guess I might get more stronger at this rate. Now I have 2 magics unlike other students of my age. Yes, Kevin, you're lucky because of the trilling system you have. It takes a long time before any magical creature could unlock his or her second magic. I guess I'm really lucky. Kevin said as he felt the urge to fly again. I'll check my new magic later once I'm free, he said as he closed the notification tab hovering above his face. Climbing on the edge of the roof, Kevin spread his wings and then flew into the air of the cold night. He caught up with a few fairy girls and said hello to them. They all giggled as they saw Kevin's cute smile. What surprised them most was the beautiful golden color of his trilling wings. Wow, did you see that? Golden wings. Is that not rare? He must be a teacher, and he's not wearing any shirt in this cold night. Oh, he's so hot and sexy. Let's catch up with him and ask him out for dinner tomorrow. One of the girls suggested and they all agreed. They searched around but couldn't find Kevin anymore. Ha! Where did he go? Oh, that was close. Kevin heaved a sigh of relief as he watched the fairies flew away in a distance. He had immediately hid as soon as he saw them notice his different colored wings. So it was so obvious. Kevin said. You know, you could ask one of them out or make them your harem wives. PFT. What's that? Are you corrupting me or what? I want to have just a girlfriend. Kevin objected as he flew past the school library. And who do you have in mind to be your girlfriend? The Lexa girl. Ha! I know she's the one. No need to hide it. Come on, what can I do to stop you from reading my thoughts? Lexa is okay to me, she could be my girlfriend. But. The system interrupted him. Come on, don't be silly. I can't just go and ask her out when we just met a few days ago. I need to study and see if my feelings for her are genuine before I could ask her out. But, she's the girl your heart beats for, right? Then all is settled. You could still have harem wives. In fact, it is a must for you to have at least 2. You may take Lexa as your girlfriend and still have 2 harem wives. Then when you decide on getting married to Lexa, you can dispose them off and be with the love of your life. Simple. What's the essence of having harem wives when they'll be abandoned anyway? Let me explain. You're like a vampire, you can blood any human you wish to turn into a vampire, and once they successfully turns into a human, they'll be under you and serve you as their master. You will send them out to kill for you, die for you and fight for you. The harem wives will be under your control and they'll respect Lexa as the owner of the house and everything. The harem wives are just there to help and comfort you in time of need. No matter what you say about them, I'm not convinced at all. Heck, what a disgusting mind you have. I'm going to my room now, it's late, everyone should have slept by now. I need a shower and I'm so sleepy. Kevin said as he flew back to the dorm building and walked into his room. Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 39. Chapter 39. Mortal Enemies. Vampires and aliens. The next day arrived and classes will be starting on this day. An alarm had sounded at 7 a.m. jolting all students awake. Well, not all of them were able to wake up at that time, but they'll soon get adapted to it once they realize how long it will take before they could get their morning breakfast if they didn't wake up early. Those that are awake, they prepared for the day and each dressed for the day's class. Thankfully, Kevin got a spare uniform shirt he could wear. Once he sells his mother's pendant, that which is not his mom's, he'll be able to buy a new uniform. The one that he had was given freely to him by the academy. There's no harm in buying uniforms yourself, the academy is just being generous. Of all the students in Kevin's dorm room, Lexa was the first to head out of the room. She had dressed up and had headed towards the canteen. She had exited the room even before any of the boys could wake up. She intentionally avoided them because of Kevin. She was afraid of looking at his face. She didn't know why, but she felt so awkward talking to Kevin because of what she did yesterday. She was still thinking maybe Kevin saw her back in the bush and was angry at her. She wasn't sure until she saw him come late to the room last night. Although Kevin didn't know she was awake and was waiting for him to arrive last night. She also pretended to be sleeping when Kevin entered the room. She couldn't bring herself to ask why he was late, cause she was scared of his answers. Because of the fear of being challenged by Kevin, she had to sneak out of the room before the alarm rang in the morning, and she was now on her way to the canteen. There are other students on their way to the canteen, so she didn't feel lonely as she walked towards the canteen. But someone had stopped her suddenly in her tracks. Someone is an understatement, but it was rather a group of students. Male students. In Kevin's dorm room, Dan and his brothers had also dressed up for the day. Unknown to Lexa, Dan managed to see her leave early in the morning before any one of them could wake up, but he was wondering why she was acting strangely all of a sudden. Is it because of me? Or is it because of this brat named Kevin? Dan had a grin on his face as he glanced at Kevin hatefully. Hey, buddy, where did you go yesterday? We saw you disappear all of a sudden and you came late to the room last night. Is everything okay? Zoe asked as he wrapped his arms around Kevin's shoulder. Yeah, I'm okay. I was just taking care of some personal things yesterday. It's nothing to be worried about. Kevin replied as he flashed a smile at the boy. Something has been troubling his mind since yesterday. It was a message the system sent to him after obtaining the first trilling ring. The system told him to do something which he felt like it's so important. He brought up the notification tab and the message was revealed to him once again. A1, can you please explain this message to me? I don't quite understand. Especially the last trilling and the mortal enemy part. Kevin requested. This is like cheating in an exam, but luckily I'm allowed to tell you about it. Your next task is to find the remaining rings. The A1 replied. The last trilling that ever existed died 500 years ago or more than that. He attended this same mage academy that you attended. But he was soft-hearted and was often bullied. What was more devastating was that those he called his friends were the ones bullying him. He failed to seek their loyalty and became friends with those who hated him. His friends gathered around and killed him. His body turned into ash and the rings he gathered for so many years became his friends' ornaments. They had thought the rings would give them the trilling power, but unfortunately, they are not the trilling, they only got an extra boost in their strength and speed, and that's all. Talking about the mortal enemies, they are the vampires. A great war occurred between the vampires and the humans and magical creatures. Back at that time, humans and magical creatures were united, so they fought the vampires and won together. Although magical creatures are in a peaceful time with them presently, the non-magical creatures, humans, are the ones in trouble at the moment. The vampires have sided with the aliens to eliminate the human race. They are still coming for us soon, so you need to be stronger and stop the war from occurring once again. Lots of things are happening that I don't know. Kevin said, but he was immediately interrupted by Dan. That personal thing. Does it have something to do with Lexa? Dan asked, not breaking eye contact with Kevin so he would know if he was lying or not. Kevin blinked twice, which Dan concluded to be a sign of when someone is about to lie. Kevin sighed before answering. He had forgotten himself in the little time he spoke with the system. No, why would it be? By the way, where's Lexa? I haven't seen her this morning. She's on her way to the canteen. Why? Are you following her? Again. Before Dan could utter his statement, Kevin had dashed out of the room, heading for the canteen. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 40, Bonus Chapter, Chapter 40. Identity exposed. Dan was left standing as Kevin exited the room before he could complete his statement. After he received the reply from Kevin that Lexa was outside, he immediately rushed out of the room. But he didn't know that Dan was angry with his reaction. He counted it as ignoring and making him look like a fool. "Hey Dan, what's wrong between you two?" Zoe asked as he grabbed his brother on the shoulders in a brotherly way. But Dan pushed him away from him as he made his way out of the room. "Dan, what is wrong with you?" Reed shouted. "Just stay out of my matter," was the only thing Dan said to his brothers before leaving for the canteen. "Are those two fighting?" Reed asked. "Who knows? I've never seen Dan become so angry like this in a while. Something must be wrong with him. Perhaps he might need our help, but couldn't bring himself down to ask us. Then what are we brothers for when he can't ask for our help?" Reed indicated. "Reed, you know. There are some times when you'll want to take care of things on your own. Let's lie low and watch as things play out. Dan warned us to stay out of his matter anyway. Interfering might cause us a lot of problems." Zoe concluded and his brother agreed. Slowly from the ground, Lexa lifted her eyes to see the person standing in her way. Her eyes moved from the chest of the male up to his chin and finally to his face. She studied the person's face, but it wasn't the face of anyone she recognized. But then, she realized that the person in front of her was one of the bullies at the school. She suddenly flinched as she took a step backward, but two other elves appeared behind her back. Who are you? What do you want?" All the other students could only watch and pass by her side. None of them could help her or they'll be a victim to the bullies. The bullies were highly respected because of their parent status and the power they had over everyone, including the mage teachers. They were from affluent and wealthy families but are the bad guys of the school. They chose to be what they became because no one would challenge them. It has been like this ever since the academy has been created. The bad guys are always from wealthy families. They walk in groups and do as they like in school. They don't care about attending classes or outings and no teacher dares challenge them or he'll meet his demise. Even the most experienced and skillful teacher in the school was sacked from his job because of these bullies. The teacher resigned from being a teacher and created a private magic school and became the master of several students. You're Lena's sister, aren't you?" Lexa's eyes fluttered open in shock as she heard them mention her sister's name. How did they know? Did her sister tell them or they did do a background search on her? She has been spending all of her days staying indoors so she won't be recognized by everyone because of her pretty but picky sister. She wanted to avoid males asking her to beg her sister. Or even bribing her with gifts so her sister would accept their plead and marry them. Because of this, she had to tell the academy to change her surname to something else as she wanted to stay as a different person in the academy. She didn't want anyone to see her as the daughter of the second wealthiest family in the kingdom. But, seeing how this man knew that she was Lena's sister, made her realize that her identity has been linked to them. Despite how much she wanted to keep her identity hidden, these men finally found out. But now what? They can't force her to talk the shit into her sister. Seeing how shocked you were, I guess I was right. You are Lena's sister. Wait, aren't you the one that wanted to start a fight back at the canteen? The elf said as he smirked at Lexa, causing her to flinch in fright once again. I was wondering how someone like you could be so brave enough to challenge us if not for the position and pride you have. O.org. The elves laughed sinisterly and then, the leader continued with his speech. I'm not here to hurt you. Your sister is quite gullible unlike you. You seem so cool like your ice magic. Perhaps your sister would have been cooler if she had the ice magic you have. What do you want? My sister is in her office, you can just go and meet her anytime you wish. There's nothing I can do for you. She doesn't listen to me, so let me go. Lexa exclaimed as she tried running away, but the elves circled her and stopped her from making a move. Do you think you can run away from us like that? "We're here to see you, not your sister," one of the elves said. "Then, what exactly do you want from me?" Lexa shouted in anger. She was getting furious seeing everyone passing by and ignoring her. None of them even tried to challenge the bullies. Why? So this is what it feels like to be bullied. Lexa prayed silently within herself for someone to rescue her. She wished she was able to contact her sister for help. But she knew she won't answer even if she had the phone to contact her. She had told her yesterday that she won't need her help ever again, so it's not sure she would come to help her. But luckily for her, someone had challenged the men. Lexa heaved a sigh of relief as she heard the person shout at the bully to leave her alone. "May the good Lord bless whosoever is coming to rescue me," Lexa said as she opened her already shut eyes to look at the person coming to her aid. "What? Hey," eyes widened with shock. "Thanks for the support, I'm very grateful to you all."